No doubt you've heard by now, Port St. Lucie has a new police chief, and he's made his way up through the ranks. He knows the department and the city very well, and he's with us today to talk about the future of the City of Port St. Lucie Police Department. Chief John Bolduc, congratulations, first of all, on being the city's new police chief.
Thank you, Ed.
Great to have you here on PSL Living.
Thank you.
We went through a national search process, a whole lot of effort, a whole lot of news, a whole lot of commentary, a whole lot of public input, and it finally resulted with our very own John Bolduc becoming Chief of Police.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people in Port St. Lucie are happy now. They feel settled, and our police department's got a clear direction. How does it feel to be the guy now at the top?
I'm excited. Ready to get to work.
It's a big opportunity. There are so many things to address and to get started with. So we thought we'd invite you in here today to talk about it a little bit and just kind of get an idea of who you are, our police chief, and then talk about maybe what some of your first ideas are for your for the future. So let's talk a little bit. You've been with the city for how long?
17, almost 18 years now.
17, almost 18 years. So you know the city and the police department very well.
Yes.
You were a lieutenant. You've been a sergeant, an officer. What other positions have you worked in?
I started off as an officer, obviously, and I became a sergeant, worked road patrol as a sergeant. Then I became an administrative sergeant where I worked on a lot of the logistical type problems, cars, lights, supervised canine, that kind of thing. Then was promoted to lieutenant, and then came back and I worked as a district lieutenant at the time for a couple of years. And then we went to a district captain concept, and then I became the administrative lieutenant, and I worked for that at that job for quite a few years.
So you've had the experience both on the street and internally and making the management end of things happen.
Yeah, administratively, yeah. And
you've got a background with a lot of training, FBI National Academy.
Yeah, graduate of the FBI National Academy, Class 218 in 2004.
And they teach you a lot of upper management level skills there?
Yeah, that's what that is. That's a I don't want to say like an executive finishing school, but that's basically what it is. It's a police executive school. You take graduate level courses, and they're all in police type management, whether it be change in organizations or organizational behavior. It's that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you've actually been the acting chief for a few months now.
Yes.
So you've been in the position, and I guess in that spot you began to realize that you can do this job and you've really got what it takes to make it happen.
Yeah, the acting chief period was very, very exciting, and I really had never considered being the chief of police as a career goal. It was always something, well, maybe someday, but because of the situation and I was doing the acting job, I really began to enjoy it. It's rewarding, very rewarding.
It's interesting, when you first took the job, you were probably thinking of being a police officer. You want to go out and serve the public that way, and you don't really anticipate where your career is going. You probably didn't think that you'd end up as chief.
Well, exactly, and when you start off as a police officer, you want to get out and catch bad guys, and still have a passion for catching bad guys. I just realized that at this stage in my career I can do it in a completely different way.
You're in a position now where you can set the stage so that a lot of the other officers can go out there and catch the bad guys. And
that's right.
Ultimately, you'll get more bad guys caught that way. So you're still doing the same thing.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, great. You have already been in this position, and you know that so many sensitive things happen and so many big news items happen, and you could end up in any kind of news situation at any time. Dealing with the public, dealing with elected officials, dealing with citizens of all kinds. You're prepared for all that?
Yes, actually, that's funny you bring that up. That was probably the part of the job that I feared the most, or I was uncertain about, and my fears have been kind of alleviated during the acting stage. I found out that just be yourself, be honest, be open, and confront the problem head on, just like I have every other problem in my career, and things work their way out.
Just deal with the issue and don't let it fester.
Right.
That's a great way to operate. So what will be your top priorities now that you know that you're in this position? It's a settled deal. What will be your priorities to address?
Well, our top priority is always going to be crime fighting. We're very proud of our history at Port St. Lucie having a low crime rate, and I promised the city manager and the city council at the summer retreat that we would have a low crime rate next year, and that's always going to be our priority.
And we are, again, right now, during this current year, we are the safest large city in Florida again?
Yes. We have the lowest, well, I don't like the safest because there's different ways to measure safe, but we have the lowest crime rate of any city with a population over 100,000 in the state of Florida.
That's a pretty impressive place to be.
Yes.
But I know that there's still crimes will still happen. There's
Yes.
always somebody out there looking for that opportunity. What's the biggest one that you're addressing right now?
Currently, we have a problem with what is deemed the felony lane burglaries. And what that is there's a group of people out of South Florida. It's not really a gang. It's a loosely associated group. From the best the intelligence tells us is they're former street drug dealers, and they've come up with a new lucrative business. And what they do is they jump on 95 and they travel, and they get off in low crime communities and smash windows and grab valuables, then jump back on 95. And when they go into the cars, they grab mainly women's purses. And then there's a whole network of identity theft that springs from that. And so we're working with other organizations, other agencies and other jurisdictions, and the statewide prosecutor and some task force working on this. But it's not an easy task because they're so mobile and they're so loosely knit. So we're in Port St. Lucie, while we're trying to catch them in action, we're doing surveillance. And we have had some success with making some arrests, but it's such a large organization that putting 1 or 2 people in jail doesn't really affect the organization or the crime pattern. What we want to do is attack the other, what I call the leg of the stool. Crime's kind of a 3-legged stool. You have a suspect, the opportunity, or the motive, and then the opportunity. If you can take one of the legs away, you've won the battle. The stool falls over. So in this particular case, taking away the suspect isn't a very effective way to do it because there's always another suspect to step in. So we're going to try the other angle. We know the motive is, it's greed. That's a pretty hard thing to take away.
Just want to steal that purse sitting in the car.
Yeah. So what's the last thing is the opportunity. If we can get the citizens in Port St. Lucie to not leave purses, wallets, iPads, things of value in their cars, we can completely eliminate this problem.
So a public education campaign is going to be something that you're going to be focusing on.
We're going to focus on changing the entire behavior, or changing the behavior of the entire population of Port St. Lucie if we can. So that's a pretty monumental task.
Well, we'll look forward to working with you on that at TV20 and through the communications department, getting that word out there because it's important. And it just seems so simple, but we're all guilty of it, or a lot of us, are leaving the car open sometimes, and it just makes it, or leaving something out in the open in the car, makes it very tempting.
Well, you can leave your car unlocked if you take everything out of it.
Nothing in there worth stealing.
Yeah, and just remember, when your purse and all your credit cards are there, you're one thin piece of glass away from losing everything, and we're going to do some things and show you how easy it is for the criminals to get to your stuff.
Do we have any areas where this tends to happen more, any particular places in town?
Well, they're smart, and what they do is they concentrate on places where they know women will leave their purse in the car. Gyms, parks, those, obviously going into a grocery store, most women would take their purse in with them. So the biggest problem we're having is gyms and parks, but they've hit other areas too. They've hit, like restaurants. And what hurts us so bad, and why it's really important to me, is we have people coming into our city on one of the major thoroughfares and let's say they get off in Tradition, which is a really nice area, and they want to have a bite to eat. Or they live in Tradition and they want to have a bite to eat. And they go into a restaurant, and one of these criminals, thugs, comes up from South Florida and breaks in their car and steals their purse. Well, what does that say about Port St. Lucie? What message is that? We have to put an end to this.
It's not what we want people to know and hear about our town and experience when they come here.
They'll never come back.
Right.
It's a bad taste.
Right. Well, you're ahead of the curve in that you do have the lower crime rate, and we'll do our part here to assist you and just try to quash this the best we can and put a stop to it. And I know new things will always pop up. You'll always have unexpected surprises along the way as a police chief, and you're prepared for that. And
we beat that one down. We'll find something else to work on.
I think people are very happy throughout the city that the right guy's on the job here and ready to go.
Thank you, Ed.
Chief John Bolduc, congratulations. We'll have you back in here often.
Yes.
I know it's also important for you that you want to talk to people about so many subjects that are important to the city and the police department, so we have an open door here for you. Come on in any time, and you have a good public information officer in place working with you also, Frank Sable, and we're ready to get your message out there.
Well, thanks, Ed.
Good to have you here today, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll be back after this quick message.